Hi. We're going to work on this shadow window box today, and we're going to do some decorating. I do want to point this out to you. The one that I did make with the corresponding accordion album, which goes inside of it, was made using the Graphic 45 Cottage Life. And at the time, when I made that, I bought the big set, and I also bought the 8x8, the 12x12, and the 8x8. And you can see I've used quite a bit of it. These are my scraps. I keep these because there's always something I can do with them. And they're such pretty papers. So let me go ahead and put this in here so I have it. But I don't have, for example, on the 12x12, there's a sheet just like this that has the pretty edgings that I used for this. And since I no longer have another 12x12 sheet like that, I'm going to decorate mine differently. But I did want to show you how I decorated mine. And then my sides, both sides, and then my inside. I haven't gotten to decorate this yet, and I will decorate this because it just makes it look a little bit neater. But you can see I've pretty much done all but that. So, and it's not necessary that you even use the Graphic 45 papers. I don't say that you have to do anything. I'm just showing you different ways you can do things, and maybe it'll jog something in your mind to think, oh hey, if she can do it that way, then maybe I could do it this way. So I'm hoping that you just kind of learn to measure. Those are the things that are important, but your designs, your papers you use, that's all up to you. I want you to have a good time with that. So I'm going to put my papers to the side for now, and I'm going to show you how to measure for this. I'll take it apart, and the first thing that I want to decorate on this is the top and the sides. So when you're measuring, and I'm going to measure from this corner to this corner, and this part is nothing, my inch starts there. So I'm just about 1 1/8 of an inch. So pretty much an inch or just a little bit less wide would work. And then in order to do the frame, we're going to go ahead and show you how to do the frame. I'm going to measure the entire side here. So it's 9 1/4, so I will probably do 9 1/8. So let's choose our paper. And I did buy some of the Graphic 45, the background papers, the patterns and solids that they have. And I'm going to see, I haven't really looked too well at this, but I'm going to see if there's something in here that would look really pretty. And they give you at the front, this is a heavier piece of paper. You can use this, you don't have to, but you can use this front paper. It's heavier than the cardstock. It's probably maybe 100, 110 pounds. Anyway, you can see the different designs that they have on here. And so I'm hoping that one of these would be really cute. That's cute. That's cute. And you can see the designs are on the back as well as the front. So I'm thinking I might use just one of these blue ones. And I'm thinking, no, I don't like that. Okay, let's try a pink one. My mom likes pink, and a lot of these things I make for her. I'm thinking I'm going to use this. This might make an excellent frame. So let me put these away for now. And I'm going to get my cut and scoreboard. You're going to need that. Oh, did I leave mine out? Well, I'm just going to use this one. I have 3 of these, and one of them is my favorite. Absolute favorite. Okay, so we know our first cut needs to be, I'm going to take the white off. That's my first cut. So, and now, if you have a scoreboard, you have to remember there are different places for cut places, and you know your machine better than I do. So I'm going to find where my cut line is and line this up. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut that white piece off. So then the next piece I want to do is across this way. We know this is a 12 by 12, so a 12 is going to be good. But I also want the lines to be see, when you look at it this way, they go crisscrossed, and this way they kind of make a nice little edge. So I'm going to go ahead and see what an inch would look like, where that would cut, and it's going to cut right down the middle of that. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that'll make a nice little frame. And as you see, I line it up not only at the top where the inch is, but then I try to make sure that my paper is lined up down that line so that it's square. So before I do anything else, I think that's cute. I like that. I'm going to go ahead and check and make sure that that is going, oh, perfect. Look at that. It just leaves a very little bit of black on the sides, and that's pretty much what you want. You like to have a little bit, and I've seen some people that they make it fit exactly to the edges. The problem with that I have found, and you may not have this problem, but the problem I found with that is this edge will get used and worn. So if you leave it in the center and leave a little bit of black on both edges, it doesn't get worn as badly. So the other size that we wanted was what, 9 1/8? Yes, this is 9 1/4. So I'm going to cut it at 9 1/8, which means then I do have to open up my board. I've really enjoyed this board, especially when I was teaching classes before we had to stop for COVID. It was really nice because it doesn't take up much space. And it has a, I like this one too because my all-in-one, my We Are Memory Keepers all-in-one, the score only goes up to 6 inches, so the rest of this is not here. So this is actually 12 by 12 scoreboard, so it makes it really nice to score on this one. So we want to cut 9 1/8. Mine needs to be cut 9 1/8. Make sure and measure yours and see what yours need to be, because yours may be a little bigger or smaller than mine. And so then again, I'm going to go ahead and check this. It's a little bit short, but I'm going to make it do. It's going to be okay. All right, so I want to cut one more of those, and I'm going to cut my inch first. And then I'm going to cut my 9 1/8. And like I said, that one was a little short, but I do want them to be pretty much the same so that we can make our frame pretty nicely. Okay, so there's my 9 1/8. There's 2 of those, one for each side. So let's go ahead and work with these ones, and then we'll go ahead and do the shorter ones. I'm going to flip this so it doesn't get broken off. And we're going to smudge. Let's go ahead and smudge this. And I'm keeping mine pretty much perpendicular, you can see, straight up and down. If you want more ink on your pink, you will lay it to the side a little bit so more of it can get on there. And a lot of times what you'll see me do is I will do the edges, and then when I get to the corner, I will lay it over. So that I lay over, it makes it look a little more antique-y. If you've seen antique things, a lot of times dust, dirt will collect in the corners, and sometimes it gets pretty much stuck there, and it makes it look very antique-y. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and lay my burnishing tool, or my smudging tool over just a little bit in the corners so that I get a little bit more ink. And you can go over as far as you want with that, make it as dark as you want in the corners. I'm not doing a whole lot, just enough to make it look a little bit more antique-y. This is one of the things that people really seem to enjoy doing, is the smudging. It's kind of relaxing. almost a meditation in itself if you do any kind of meditation. It's kind of a neat little thing. Okay, I'm going to put this away, and I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. So I'm going to need my bone folder. Make sure you have your bone folder. And since they're just a little bit too short, I want to kind of make sure and get them both at the same place so that when we do this strip, it will line up nicely. So you want to be a little bit aware of that. And I'm going to put my pin in my shirt so I don't lose it. And you've probably heard me talk about my dear husband, how he has had to come and help me look for pins that I've lost. So since I've come up on this, putting it in my shirt, I don't lose my glue pin. And he's such a good sweet boy to help me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it's not only centered between this, but I want to make sure I know exactly where I am placing this. And I'm going to move it just a little bit towards me. And there we go. Okay, now since there's no bottom in this, you don't want to push too hard or you'll break this through. So I'm going to lean this over and I'm going to burnish on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and push on my other side. Now you can use your finger and support it. Just make sure you put your thumbs under there, your fingers under there while you're pushing down. Because what your tool does, it helps to smush your glue out a little bit better, and it also helps it to adhere just a little bit more. Okay, let's do the second piece on the other side, and then I will show you how to make a frame with the two smaller pieces, and that's kind of fun. So I'm going to look here and see about where I have that placed, and I use the warmth of my hands first to help the glue to get smushy so it pushes out, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this. I do both of them. And you want to support that under there. Okay, so we have the two sides done. So the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and measure for this. And I think this is probably going to be, yeah, a little bit under an inch, just like these ones were. But then we also want to measure from the very corner, the very edge, to the very edge of our paper, not our black, but our paper. And this is 5 and a little over an eighth, a little under a quarter. Okay, so I'm going to cut my inch ones first, and then I'll remeasure again, just to make sure. Let me put my pin back in my glue so it doesn't dry out. If you're using the art glitter glue, it does dry out. So you always want to make sure and reattach your pin to keep it from drying out. So we want to cut this at just about a little, very little bit under an inch. And so if you have a scoreboard, you'll see you have a dip in it where your inch is. For example, here's my inch. There's also a raised area between the inch and the 7/8. A lot of times if you need to, you don't quite need 7/8 and you don't quite need an inch. If you line up your paper on that line, it'll give you a perfect cut, and that's pretty much what I'm doing with this. Let me pull that down here. I'm going to go ahead and line it up just a little bit between the inch and the 7/8. Okay, so I may be able to get both my top and my bottom out of this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and distress most of my edgings, and then once we cut it, we'll distress what's left, what needs left in the middle, just to kind of get this out of the way. Okay, so let's go ahead. Now, there are two ways you can do this. You can measure with your ruler, like I showed you, and then cut it accordingly. Or something else that I really like to do, which a lot of times gives me a better measure, is I will go ahead and line this up, and I line it up at both corners, and then I will bring it over here to where the corner is, and I will go ahead and put a little tick mark. So when I cut it, sometimes I get better results by making the tick mark than I do by using a ruler, and sometimes I do really well using the ruler. So something that you can play with and see what works best for you. There are no absolutes as far as I'm concerned in paper. It's kind of like when I do a lot of knitting, and sometimes when I go out in public I have been told I'm knitting wrong. And of course I try to be polite unless they really push me. I don't say anything, but most of the time it's like there are no knitting police. So there are no paper police, people. Let's go ahead and get this one glued down so that I can show you how we're going to do the corner. Well, I'm not going to glue it down yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and line it back up with my sides and my corner. And I'm not sure. I think it goes on this one. Not quite. I must have gotten it just a little bit too short, which that's okay. It will hide. It will be hidden. So I'm going to line this up, and then this is where I'm going to make a tick mark, right in my corner where this piece and this piece meet. And I want to go right there, and I want to do it on the other side. And then this is where we'll use my scissors. I will just cut from that tick mark to the corner. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to cut from my corner actually to my tick mark. And then I will smudge it. And I'm going to go ahead and glue it. Let me put my pin away. And I'm going to try and make sure that everything gets pretty well lined up. Yeah, look at that. Just about almost perfect. Not quite, but it's almost. That went up too far. You can kind of see it's above, but it's going to be okay. I'm not going to worry about that. And then I'm going to use my bone folder and go ahead and push all of that down. Make sure it gets a good hold. So then we're going to do the same thing with this top piece. And I'm going to try and get this one a little bit better. Okay. Let's cut it. Okay, I want to make sure that's maybe lined up a little better than I had the first one. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and smudge this. If you're not comfortable using your scissors to cut those, then go ahead and use your cut board. It's not a big deal. I'm just real comfortable using my scissors. So I'm going to line this up on both edges. Yep, there we go. Find my pencil, mark it, and then I'm going to cut. Okay, so that one gets cut there. And I'm going to smudge. I didn't have to really smudge the edges the first time because they got cut off, but that's okay. I do that a lot. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. And I'm going to try and get this one a little bit better than I did the last one. There we go. That's a little bit better. So the other thing I wanted to show you is, let me get one of my black pens. I don't know if this still has ink in it. Sometimes where you have cut, like mine is dark enough because the brown actually is darker than this pink, but if you're using a dark color, you might want to get one of these Sharpie permanents, and mine has the fine tip, and you might want to actually draw across those lines to give them a better definition. And I'm not going to do that because the brown, you can kind of see the brown makes it look exactly like a frame. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to measure the inside of, I'm going to do the big one, but it'll be the same for this. You can actually just take your ruler, and I'm starting at my 12-inch side because this is waist. This part is waist, and I won't get a true reading. So what I will do is I will go ahead and I will lay my ruler clear down to the bottom, and then I will look at this, and it says that it's 1 inch, so the 11 would just be 1 inch and 1/8. So on the inside of my top, I'm actually going to use this same pink that I used here to cover the inside. So let's go ahead and do that. But it's the same with this, and I'm not going to walk you through this. I'm going to let you do it yourself. You're going to put your ruler clear down to the bottom, and then if you have to, count your inches. For example, it ends there, so I would count 1, 2. You don't have to do subtraction or anything, especially for our younger audiences. Sometimes they don't want to do the math, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. But then I will count back. 11 will become 1, 10 will become 2, and then I have another 1/8. So this would be cut 2 inches to fit in here on the inside. Now, on the outside, we're just going to do this small piece. We don't do our foxing, we just do our small piece. So I will put my ruler's edge right here along the bottom here, and it's about 1 inch and 3/16, so a little bit over 1 inch and 1/8. And so you could cut 1 inch, just a little bit over 1 inch to fit on this bottom piece. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to start with the inside because it's a little bit trickier. And what did we say that was? 1 inch, 1 inch and 1/8. So I'm going to cut it 1 inch wide. I take 1/8 of an inch off my measurement to give me the black on each side. And I know that's not much, but it's usually perfect. Just like this is just about 1 inch off the entire measurement of this. So it just gives you a little bit of black on each side, which is nice. It protects your pretty papers. So this is 1 inch and 1/8, so I'm going to do an exact inch. I have to admit, I have a little bit harder time getting my papers lined up in this cutter, but that's okay too. I just take a lot more time, and I don't want you to feel bad if you have to do that. I'm actually going to cut a second piece at 1 inch for my other side because it's on the inside. Even if it's just off by a fraction of 1 inch, I'm not going to worry about it. It will be covered. Okay, so the next measurement that I want to do is I want to measure from the corner to the corner, and it would be very hard. I can't put my ruler in and line it up, but I am going to take my outside measurement, which is 1, 2, 3, 9 3/8. So if I take it down to 9 1/4, it might be just a midge too big for the inside, but that's what I'm going to cut first because it's the bigger space that I need. So let's go ahead and measure 9 1/4, and if it's too big, then we can always just use our scissors to snip off a very small piece, or you can use your cut board. It does not matter. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and I'm going to lay it in there. Oh, that fits. It's just a little bit tight, kids. It's just a little bit tight. So I am going to use my scissors, And I am just going to shave a little piece off of that. Oh, I can't even see where it went. Oh, here it is. So let me show you. See, it's just a very, very thin piece that I've shaved off that. And I'm going to measure again to make sure. Yep, that's better. And it's very little bit of a difference, but that little bit of shaving has helped tremendously. So let's do the same thing. Let's do 9 1/4 on the other long one that we have. And I'm going to measure the inside. So this one we said fit here, didn't we? Yeah. So I'm going to measure the other one on the other side and just see. Yep, I still have to take just a little shaving, just barely a millimeter, very, very small piece off of that side too. And then I'll try it again. Yep, that's better, much better. Okay, I'm going to smudge. And these are just little tricks to make it easier. There's one. If this is all you learn from me, I'm very happy. All these little tips and tricks. Because you don't have to make the exact same project I'm making. Although that's always fun too. I have done that. Scrap Queen. Oh my goodness, she does some beautiful work. If you want to go and find someone on YouTube that has, she'll do, I don't know, 10, 15 videos, an hour, hour and a half long on one project, and she does a really nice job. So I welcome you to go ahead and check out her channel too. You will enjoy it. And she's the one that I have done the exact same project with. And it's always been a lot of fun. But it's also very fun to pick your own papers and do it your way. As long as you know the tips and tricks to measuring and, you know, gluing. And so I'm going to push this in, and I'm going to push it pretty much to here. Push it down that way. And then I'll use my fingers to warm up the glue, and then I'm going to go ahead and burnish really well into that. And you can see we have the inside done. Let's do the other side. And again, sometimes you want to do something a little different. For example, you might not want to make a frame. You might want to do something else. But if you know how the tip or the trick, how to do a certain skill set with paper, then you don't have to make it exact like someone else. But if you learn all these little tips and tricks, then you put them together the way you like them, and it's just a lot more fun doing paperwork that way. Okay, so I've done that. Now I would do the same thing with this edge, but I'm not going to do that because now you know the trick to measuring and cutting just to get it perfectly. But we are going to work on this. Since it's on the inside, it's a little bit more tricky. And the one thing that I do like is this smaller Omni-Grid ruler. And a lot of times you'll see me use this instead. So in order to find out how wide it is, I will actually put it under my box and then slip the top of it over here. And you can see it's just about, let me do the inch so you guys can see better. It's almost a perfect inch measured from the side to here. So I'm actually going to cut 7/8 of an inch wide for this one. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, I'm going to put my needle in my glue, ladies and guys, because I don't want it to dry out. And I want to do 7/8 of an inch, so I'm going to put it on the 7/8 line. And I think I need 2 of these because we're doing the long side first. And I haven't done this. I'm going to let you do this side yourself since you know how to measure. And let's go ahead and do 7/8. Doesn't it feel good to become independent with some of this stuff? I mean, it's so fun watching the videos, but it's also very fun to learn how these girls think and how they measure, and then you get to do it yourself. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this away for now because we have to get the length, and I will use my bigger ruler for that. I'm going to measure the entire piece, and it's about 9 1/4 inches. So I'm going to cut it just a little bit shorter than 9 1/4 inches. And I will show you how I do that. So here is 9 1/4, and it's in a dip. So I'm going to bring it back to the raised part between the 9 1/8 and the 9 1/4. And then I'm going to cut. Now, if you're watching me, if I have a long piece, I don't worry about cutting up and down. But when I have a shorter piece, a lot of times I will make sure my knife is on this side of it and I will cut up towards it, because these little pieces are a little bit harder to control, to keep straight. And so that kind of helps if you do that. So I'm going to do the same thing with this other longer piece. I'm going to put it at 9 1/4 first, and then I'm going to move it back to the raised part of my cutting board. And I'm going to cut up. There we go. And I'm going to put this down. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this, and that is really quite long. So I'm going to take off a little bit more than a sliver. And you can see this, it's not much, but it's a little bit bigger than the sliver we took for the other piece. And then I'm going to measure it again. Yep, that's just about perfect. Okay, so once we get these 2 pieces laid down, oh, and that one's just about perfect. Well, it needs a little sliver off, but we'll take it off later. So what I want you to realize is that you just have to cover this little piece here. So that's going to be a little tricky, but what I would do is I would measure the entire area, and it's about 5 1/4. And we know that these are almost an inch each. So I'm going to ignore the quarter, and I'm going to take an inch off for each side, which takes me down to 3 inches. Now I might cut 3 1/8. So let's go ahead and do that so that I can show you what I mean. First of all, I have to do my 7/8 wide. And then I said we would do 3 1/8 this way. So I'm going to go ahead and do exactly 3 1/8. Now, I'm going to pretend these are glued down, but I am going to see how well this fits in here. And you'll want, see, you will want a little black on each side again, so that's just about perfect. Now you could have cut it at 3 1/4 and then used your scissors to get it the exact size you want. I think this is just a lot of fun to do things this way. So these get burnished, these will get burnished, and you'll want to make a second one for down here. These get burnished. And then you can glue them in. Now, this bottom, since it is a complete bottom, what you'll want to do is you'll want to measure the bottom of the other side. And this is 5 3/8. So I do know that I don't need to have exactly 5 3/8. I will probably do 5 1/4. Yeah, and see, this piece is not big enough, but that's okay. I can probably use it elsewhere, so I'll keep it. So And I'm putting it on the inside. I'm not going to glue the outside. The bottom outside, I don't worry about. We are working on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and find a piece. I think I'm going to do blue, and I kind of like that. So what did we say we needed? 5 1/4. Let me measure that again, just to make sure. Yeah, let's, yeah, let's do 5 1/4. I'm going to take my white off. If you've noticed, when you do these pages, they are 12 by 12 in the design area, but this little white lip actually will make it so that your paper doesn't fit in here exactly. So I cut that off first. So we want to cut 5 1/4, and I'm going to put it right in my 5 1/4 line. And cut it. So the trick to this, now this is too long, it's not going to lay inside there. But the trick is, okay, see, you can already see it's too big. And I think, and usually you just put it in there and see that it measures this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it in there and I'm going to try and measure. Where's my, there we go. I'm going to try and measure. That's quite a bit off. Oh, that's almost 1/4 inch. So I'm going to take a little bit less than 1/4 inch. Now I know this is 5 1/4, so I'm going to take it between the 5 and the 5 1/8 for now. And see, that's just a little bit, but, and that, see how that slides in there very nicely. You can also go ahead and slide it the whole way down to make sure. Yep, that looks good. Okay, so then, if you're a tick person, if you like to tick things, which some of the girls on here are so good at this, I'm not so good. I always seem to make a mistake. But I will go ahead and I will put a tick. I keep a little bit of black on this side, and then I'm going to tick just inside the line of the outside, and I will cut it there. Where's my line? There it is. So as I line it up, I make sure that this line is square. Now, if you don't want to go digging for your paper, then all you do is the same thing. You will lay it. See, this is just a little bit too big. I'm going to take another 1/8 inch off. So we had 5 1/4. Let's do 5 1/8. Yeah, and just like we did this way, we laid it in there and it fit. You can lay this in here. Yep, it fits. And if you're brave, you can go ahead and lay it in there. It's just sometimes it's a little bit harder to get it to come out without. That's where your spatula comes in handy, and then it won't damage your paper either. There we go. Okay, so we're going to smudge that and go ahead and lay it in there and glue everything down. And that's what we're going to do today, because we're already at almost 40 minutes, and I don't like to keep mine very long. I like to give you a little bit of lesson, let you think about it, and maybe make 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of them, and then come back for the next lesson. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this has helped you. Make sure and smudge all of these pieces. If you're comfortable, go ahead and cut this, because I will review this next time, and get these all glued in. Make sure when you put this little one in that you leave a little bit of black on each side, like about like a little bit more to that side, so that you have black on each side. Okay, and I will see you in our next session. Thanks for joining me. I have so much fun doing this with you girls and guys. Appreciate you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.